You need locks on the doors.
Okay, this is sounding kind of dangerous now.
It's had like an hour left. So get extra comfortable, kids, because after that, y'all gotta go. It's a wrap for y'all, because this thing turns into something that when y'all get older, y'all don't want to come to. Okay?
With you this weekend. A bunch of my friends. Diddy, Quincy. I got on a plane at 5:30 a.m. Go to this party. I think half the people there were b***ing.
Happy 50th. Y'all know y'all gonna have to turn up tonight, right? Ain't no party like a Diddy party. Y'all know how y'all was doing it back in '64.
That's why I don't be going to them puffy parties. They can hug you from the front and the back at the same time.
For decades, Puff Daddy parties were the place to be. From his annual Hamptons white parties, to the blowout birthday bashes, the lavish soirees were attended by everybody. Who filled out this guest list? Let's see. Jay-Z and Beyonce, Jennifer Lopez, Leonardo DiCaprio, Ashton Kutcher. I could go on and on. For his 50th birthday, Puff Daddy partied with members of the Kardashian family. Pharrell, Naomi Campbell, so many big names. Well, obviously, a lot of things are now going viral on social media. Why? Well, a lot of people want to know what happened at these white parties where Puff Daddy partied with the megastars. Specifically, there's one image in the news where like everybody's holding a fun bottle of something and a lot of folks look like they're having a good time. And people want to know just how good of a time was it? Was Leonardo DiCaprio having a good time? Was Mariah Carey having a good time? They were both wearing white. Another image that stands out, Puff Daddy screaming at a party, and who does he have in his arms? Paris Hilton and Kim Kardashian. Now sure, this was during the era where Kim was Paris's second in command, her assistant if you will, but we gotta get back to the Kardashians because they know more than they're telling. So there's one video showing Khloe Kardashian bragging about partying with Puff Daddy. This isn't an old episode of Keeping Up with the Kardashians. I know, it's like 10 years old, but it's relevant, okay? So Khloe and Kourtney are hanging out. They're discussing this wild party with a lot of friends. Bieber was there, French Montana was there, and Puff Daddy. So later on in the episode, everybody's out bowling, and Girly Pop is like, well, I haven't been to bed yet. I got on a plane at like 5:30 a.m. And like she said the quote that we all know about what people were or weren't wearing at the party. And it's like, hey girl, want to elaborate why you got on a plane at 5:30 a.m.? Because we all know when the bad part of the party happened, and it was after 5 a.m. She said, well, I know you're known for the parties. When you think of a party or a good time, you think of Puff. And we've been known to party with you a few times. And then Kourtney was like, oh yeah, like you were just at Puffy's party. And she's like, oh my gosh, I forgot about that. That was an epic night too. Like that night was fun because all the girls ditched me. So it was like me and the boys. It was me, Kanye, and we were just like hanging out and it was fun. I loved it. And then once again, Khloe turns to Puffy and is like, I don't know how you have all the energy, but that's who you are. And that's why people are so drawn to you because you're so eclectic. No matter what, no matter how much you work, you don't sleep, you don't do anything, but that's just you. And if you thought that's where the friendship ends, flash forward, I think 3 years later, 2019, Khloe is posting pictures of her family and Puff Daddy. December 16th, 2019. Everybody's hanging out. It's like, oh my gosh, yeah, like happy 50th birthday. So here's the thing. Normally when Khloe posts photos of her family on Insta, the comment section is usually flooded with well wishes. But fast forward to this year, September 24th, 2024, now that everything's coming to light, yeah, there's some suspicion and anger in the comments. Folks want to know, like, hey, Kardashian family, you've been hanging out with Puff Daddy for years at this point. We just went through the timeline. And like, what's going on? So even though this was a completely unrelated post, like Khloe's dropping off her family at school, and yes, there are a couple of nice little things, like there's a pop singer who was like, oh my gosh, best mama. Everybody else wants to know other stuff. They said, and I quote, so are we just glossing over the fact that she and the other Kardashians knew what went on at Puffy parties? The circus is trying to deflect from them parties they went to, and that one was in all caps, but like, I'm not yelling at you, you don't need that. So let's go through the family tree. Apparently Kim has unfollowed Puffy on Insta, but has not spoken publicly over the speculation. But going back to Khloe, once again, she's always said nothing like a Puffy party and she hasn't said anything else. Now sure, nobody in the family has been linked to any of the allegations that Puffy is facing, but they have not spoken out following his arrest. They've been fawning over him for how many years now publicly? And like if we're going up to, let's see, the matriarch of the family, Kris Jenner, her partner Corey Gamble had ties to the rapper as well. So there's a theory. A theory is the family is dreading the prospect of testifying at the upcoming trial. Now this is according to some insiders who claim that the family is in panic mode because all these years they've been bragging about partying with Puffy, and of course everybody's wondering, were you involved in the freak-offs? And if you don't know what the freak-offs are, how can I word this without getting in trouble with the internet? Carefully organized events that involved very naughty activities, not always consensually, with a lot of people. Please get my hint. So according to sources, the Kardashians are all insisting they weren't involved in the twisted, awful things that went up after hours at these parties. Even though we know Khloe was at these parties until 5:30 a.m., which is when the twisted things would have been happening. Now, of course, we do have to mention Puffy had plenty of glamorous parties over the years that weren't these crazy things. But, and this is a quote here, at least not until the early morning hours. Well, I don't know, folks. Didn't I just say that Khloe Kardashian was at these parties until the early morning hours? So if you're wondering how Corey ties into all of it, he made a post in 2020 saying like, oh, I will always thank Puffy and Puffy's partner for all they did in my life. So a lot of folks think Corey must have had some knowledge of what was going on, which he totally denies. So obviously, going back to Kris, momager supreme, PR expert, she's a little embarrassed. She's scrambling to distance the entire family from this and distract everybody. But obviously, it's kind of impossible. So let's talk more about these parties for a moment, folks. Let's go back, way back. 1999, where Puffy was talking about his white parties, and it's very interesting what he said about them. At the time, 1999 folks, they don't want me to party anymore, but we're not gonna stop. We will continue to have fun, to unite people from all walks of life. And he said, you will hear about my parties. Folks, this is almost 30 years ago. They're going to shut them down. Maybe they're going to arrest me. They're going to do all kinds of crazy things just because we want to have a good time. Whenever you bring a different element into people's environments, things that broaden people's horizons, people get intimidated. It's a lot of people out there that feel intimidated by it. Okay, well, I don't know, sir. We have different ideas on this. He also joked about his tactics for keeping women from ditching his get-togethers. And he did this on television, folks. This was on Late Night with Conan O'Brien in 2002. So Conan was like, hey, how do you throw a great party? Because by then, Puffy was already known for his parties. He said woman. Beautiful woman, of course. Beautiful men for the ladies, of course. You need some water. I don't know if guys have noticed this, but a lot of ladies drink water at the parties, so if you don't have what they need, they're gonna leave. And then he said something very interesting. Gotta keep them there. Need locks on the doors. Now, Conan O'Brien was like, that sounds kind of dangerous. Puffy tried to play it off. He's like, no, it's all in fun. Well, he didn't say that word. He said a word that starts with a K that I can't say. But like, nope, that does not sound like a great human rights situation. So sure, as all this continues to hit the light and it's all technically allegation and whodunits and maybes and allegedlys, it's probably gonna be a while before we get anything concrete, because if you went to a Puffy party or hung out with him, you had to sign an NDA. So apparently it's a pretty standard one, like you can't share information related to the disgraced music mogul himself, partners, family members, friends, business associates. You also couldn't photograph, film, or record anything without written consent. And even though that is pretty boilerplate, obviously we all wish we had footage right about now. You also, if you took anything, you can't share anything on social media without any explicit consent from the bad boy founder. Also, you can't give an interview, you can't write a book, you can't discuss anything. So obviously that's probably why we're not hearing about anything, but like, we would still like to know. The non-disclosure seems to cover anything that could get the rapper into trouble, and it does expire at one point. It's valid for, let's see, Puffy's life plus 20 years or 70 years, whichever is longer. Yes, it's boilerplate, but still, come on folks, you can break it, it'll make everybody's lives easier. And that's all for today, see you next time.